not sure why I didn't do this to begin with, but I just decided to put this cute little tree in the background. Probably should have thought of that before the final day of Vlogmas. Hey friends, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah from Pies and Pros, and we are at the very last day of Vlogmas 2020. I can't believe how fast and also slow at the same time this happened. It feels like I just started doing Vlogmas videos and now I'm at the final one. However, there was a time throughout this Vlogmas challenge where I just completely lost all sorts of inspiration, and now it just feels like a blur, like that didn't even happen, which time is a construct, y'all. But anyway, I am excited to be at the end of Vlogmas, not because I'm not enjoying the Vlogmas challenge and doing these videos every day, but I'm just feeling glad that we made it to the end. We completed a task, maybe not 100%, but we did our best, we as in me. I don't know why I'm saying we. And I missed a few here and there, but it was still not too bad. This video, I decided that I would answer some questions for you, just a quick Q&A about New York City living. I know that is one of the most popular questions that I get on my Instagram account, just New York City living in general. So I'm gonna answer some of those questions for you today. And then after this video, we're gonna go back on schedule as we were back before December happened. We're gonna go back to weekly videos. Let's just get right into this. Okay, so I have questions here on my phone and I have a good amount, so I'm just gonna go through a good chunk of them. And the first question is, how are the food places over there? So this is a great question. It is right up my alley because I love food, and there's just so much fantastic things and places to go to eat here in New York. I swear to you, you can go somewhere new every single week. It'll just be a whole new experience. And that's something that I really love about New York City, is that not only is the food delicious and diverse and there's just so much different varieties of things that you can get, but it is an experience. It's not just food. It is a whole thing. You can have dining experiences here. Now, of course, in this recent times, the experience is a lot different. There's not so much indoor dining anymore, which was something that was an activity for me personally. That was something that I did every single week. It was an experience, and a lot goes into that in terms of ambiance and the kinds of restaurants that you can go check out. But now it's different. So I can't really speak on the indoor dining right now because I kind of don't want to hype that up because it might not ever be the same again. But there is outdoor dining right now. I do not outdoor dine, but it is quite abundant, especially in the more restaurant forward neighborhoods like Astoria, that's in Queens, Brooklyn, we've got Williamsburg, Manhattan. We have so many different areas in Manhattan that just really embrace the outdoor dining situation right now, and that's an experience in itself. Now, the food itself, there's just so much food. There's somewhere that you can go eat almost in every single block. That's what it feels like. It's extremely abundant. And I would say that in the borough that I live in, which is Queens, it is the most diverse place to begin with. And it is also the most diverse when it comes to food. You can get food from all parts of the world. It's not just sort of inspired by some part of the world. People that live in this borough are diverse. They are creating authentic food. So you can enjoy authentic Thai, you can enjoy authentic Japanese, you can enjoy authentic Indian, all sorts of different cuisines. It's incredible. Yeah, people might think that it's overhyped. A lot of people talk about New York and the dining experience. It lives up to its hype. You can go to a hole in the wall, or you can sit down at a fancy dining experience and you will experience something new and fantastic and amazing. And to me personally, as you can tell, food in NYC is extremely important to me. It is part of my lifestyle. So yeah, I take food seriously, and New York City lives up to its hype. I am sure none of y'all thought that I was gonna take that question as far as it went. And when it comes to vegan food, there are tons of vegan restaurants here in New York City. So I am still able to enjoy that experience despite going vegan in January. Next question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good is it to not commute near the Rockefeller tree this year? So this question was submitted by a work friend, and if you didn't know, I work for Hachette Book Group, which the office is located in Midtown Manhattan. And Midtown Manhattan is what you associate with the Rockefeller Christmas tree, like the question said, the ice skating rink, Radio City, all of those landmarks and locations and stuff, like the NBC. Oh my goodness, there's just so much going on in that area. I am so happy that I do not have to commute there this year. Of course, the circumstance is, you know, unfortunate, but we are working from home, and not being near that tree this year, I am actually grateful, because when you live in New York and you have to commute to these heavily touristy areas, it is unlike anything you can imagine. Traffic in New York is horrible to begin with, but if you work or live in an area such as Midtown Manhattan, I just got flashbacks to a year ago where the tree was up and I got stuck on a bus for an hour. I had moved 2 blocks. 2 blocks. Triggered. Anyway, next question. Not necessarily bad, but what didn't meet your expectations when you first moved to the city? So this question assumes that I moved here from somewhere else, but that is actually not true. I was born here in New York City. I was born here. I was raised here. I have moved to several places here, and I've never left New York City. So this is my home from the very start of my existence. So technically I didn't have expectations. For someone who is born here, you just are accustomed to what is in New York City. What I will say is that when you watch movies about New York City, if you watch popular scenes that are set in New York City in popular films, it seems a lot more magical than it actually is. Of course, there is a magic and charm to New York City. Even as someone who has been here their whole life, I still think there is charm to this place, but it is not magical in the way that movies present it. Like if you think Home Alone 2 I'm talking about. Home Alone 2 is one of those movies where as a child, when I watched it, I would just daydream about hanging out in Manhattan and all that lovely good stuff in the snow and Central Park and whatnot. You start to realize that Manhattan is not where you want to hang out. Not because there's something wrong with it, it's just, it's high stress, it's high energy, it is just a lot going on, and it's heavily touristy. So it's not an enjoyable experience as much compared to someone who is from another state or another country. So yeah, does that make sense? I don't know if it does. I think another thing that a lot of people don't know about New York, it can be romantic, but I think an actual New Yorker does not consider New York to be romantic. It is very, it's very raw, it's raunchy, it's, you know, cutthroat, and a lot of people have also associated that with New York, and that part is 100% true. I would just say that the romantic view on New York City is not something that I have ever experienced as a New Yorker. I have certainly done a lot of things that you would see in movies and in music videos, but they aren't as cool or romantic, I guess. I think a lot of that has to do with people who are from other places and then they come here and they're like, wow, I'm living the dream. I'm living the New York life. If you are born here and you're accustomed to that stuff, it just is what it is. It's nothing special. Next question, is Christmas in NYC the best time of the year? 100%. Yes. I love Christmas in New York City. That is quite magical to me. That is where a huge chunk of charm comes from to me. If I was given the opportunity to travel for Christmas, I would choose to just stay in New York because it is such a great, unique experience that you can only get from New York City. Of course, you can experience a lovely Christmas tree in any part of the world. You can enjoy decorations and music and what have you in any part of the world. But the way that New York City does it has a rooting of tradition in it as well. So we have the Rockefeller Christmas tree. That always goes up. There's always a ceremony for it. They always use the same decorations. It's unforgettable, classic. We love it. I know I sort of smack talked it before because I work in Midtown, but in that area during the Christmas time, it is Christmas town. It is just all out Christmas. So we've got the Macy's, we have the Saks, Fifth Avenue. There's all sorts of different decor going on. There is, I can't remember it right now, which is so bad, but there is a string of windows that decorate like in little scenes with like different props and whatnot. I can't remember what store that is. I think that is Saks. They also decorate the entire side of their building, and the decorations are music driven, so it plays with music, and people just stand out on the road and just look and wonder at this magical thing. And of course, we have the Christmas Spectacular, we have the Nutcracker, we have a lot of different things that are very New York, and I love all of those things. I especially love when it is really actually cold during Christmas, so that you can get all bundled up, you can wear your Christmas coats and your gear and just walk around the Manhattan area and just enjoy all of this Christmas stuff. So to me, it is magical, 100%. And if global warming wasn't the way that it is right now, it would always snow around Christmas time. I grew up where it would snow every December, and a lot of the times it would snow on Christmas, and it wouldn't snow a little bit. It wouldn't be flurries. It would be heavy amounts of snow. I miss that a lot about my childhood, where it would snow significantly. As the years went on, and now that I'm an adult, it doesn't snow that much. Sometimes it won't snow at all. Sometimes it's hot on Christmas Day, and that is something that I miss about New York and Christmas time. That made it extra magical and 100% the best time of the year. This is a good question. What can you compare the noise of the city with what would make sense to a small towner? This is a really good question because to me, this is a difficult question. I think it's difficult because I've spent time in small towns for like vacations or summers, and I kid you not, there has never been a time in any of those small towns where I've experienced the noise level that it is here. And it's kind of frightening for someone like me, a city person, to experience such quietness, such silence. I am not used to that. And so anytime I travel to a small town, there's something disturbing about how quiet it is. There's nothing like the noise here in New York. As you can tell from my videos, I constantly stop, or you constantly hear something in the background. I used to spend summers in Maryland and in a small area. The only thing I can compare to is just say a car was passing by. Just amplify that times 100 and have it on loop for half of your day. Does that make sense? That is the noise that we deal with here, especially if you live in the Queens area where we are next to 2 airports. I'm not even talking about people noise and music and restaurants and hustle and bustle. I didn't even include that. It's just so hard to compare that to anything that a small towner typically deals with. Okay, another question. Is living there too expensive and difficult to afford? Yes, it is extremely difficult to live in New York City. You have to be okay with living in a tiny space. You have to be okay with just making rent and then have a little bit for your groceries or your necessities, bills, etc. You have to be okay with just settling with that in a lot of circumstances, unless you are privileged to get a high-paying job here, which is not exactly easy, especially for someone like me. And I've lived here my whole life, and I'm still in that situation where I'm living in a small apartment. I thought apartment living would be my life forever until I get this house, until I sign that contract and it actually happens. I still believe that. You have to be okay with compromising certain things for other things. You can't be able to go to the theater every week and then also have dinners every weekend and then also have a big lavish apartment unless you're making a ton of money. I know that sounds weird, so why would you live here to begin with? a lot of people move here because of the experience. They're willing to compromise so that they can have the New York City lifestyle. I know there are actually places around the country that are more expensive and more like ridiculous. For example, San Francisco. It is extremely expensive. You're gonna have to struggle one way or the other, and most people are okay with that. Okay, and the last question, and it's the most popular question that I get, and I think I sort of answered it here already in the other questions, but what is it like? What is it like being in New York? And this elusive sort of outlook on New York from other people who don't live here, like they sort of see it as something almost magical, like I said before, something out of fiction. So what is it like living in that sort of environment where it's reality for you? And for me personally, it's fantastic, but at the same time, it's extremely problematic. And for all the reasons that I mentioned before in the other questions and answers, it's extremely expensive, it's tight space, it's very cramped. In some situations, it's really annoying, such as parking because there's so much people. The mass transportation is really annoying and horrible and never reliable. You know, it's got its fair share of problems, and I have serious problems with it. Noise, the planes, you know, living very close to other people because you're in these apartment buildings, old apartment buildings that don't get maintenance. There are so many problems, and I can go through my 26 years of problems that I have with New York City. But again, what I do love about New York City is its charm. There's something about it, and I know that is very cliche and people don't understand what that means, but there is a lot to love about New York. The people are great. We may seem mean, we may seem forward and just sort of like get out of my way, but we don't have an intention to be rude. We have no intention to be hateful. There is an overlying sense of, you know, community and love in that sense. Also, the experiences, food, entertainment, landmarks, history, all sorts of different things. There's a tradition when it comes to New York, and I think we like to preserve that tradition as well as accept a lot of new things. And so there's always something to do here. There's always something to enjoy here, no matter what kind of person you are, what you're into. You can be artsy, you can be theatrical, you can be scientific, you can be all sorts of different personalities and characters and have different interests, and you can still live in New York and still have a fantastic experience and enjoy it here. It's huge and it's cramped and it's annoying and there's so many things to hate, but there's also a lot of things to love, and I think that's why I'm constantly conflicted about leaving and staying here. I love New York and I don't imagine living anywhere else, like actually living somewhere else, but at the same time it frustrates me. So it's a love-hate relationship. I know that's annoying to say. It really is a love-hate relationship, depending on the day, depending on the situation. Okay, so that about wraps things up. My camera is actually going to die, so I'm going to end things off here, actually. I actually spent a good amount of time on those questions as well, but I wanted to thank you so much for sending those questions, and thank you so much for checking out my Vlogmas videos this year. This was my first Vlogmas ever. This is my first really active year on YouTube, and I appreciate all the love and support that I've received in this year. I'm actually blown away at the amount that I've received. I really didn't think that it was going to happen. I kept posting every single week and thinking, fingers crossed, people will watch this video, and you really pulled through. So thank you so much. I appreciate every view, every comment, every anything. It means the world to me, and I hope that it's going to be an even better year in 2021. This year wasn't even that great, so I mean, dang, y'all really came through for me. If you've just joined, if you're now watching this video, go ahead and subscribe so you can see all the other videos that I've been posting and see the videos that are coming up in the new year. Yeah, hit the notification bell so you get notified when those videos go up. That's always helpful. I will talk to you, oh my gosh, not tomorrow, next week. I will talk to you then.